Hey guys, what's up? So for the previous video, we looked at templates and template inheritance. We looked at how we could render dynamic data from our backend or from our view functions to our HTML templates. We also looked at HTML inheritance, which allowed us to share the same layout across all the pages of our application. Now in this video, we're going to look at how we can style our HTML template so that we have a website that actually looks more appealing. So let's get started. Now, static files are going to be CSS files, JavaScript files, and in some cases, images. So what we're going to do is to look at how we can be able to make use of those different kinds of data using our Django. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do is to head over to our code right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is to create a folder called our static folder. So it's actually going to be a static folder. Now in this static folder is where we're actually going to locate all our CSS or our JavaScript or our images. So what I'm going to do is to create a new, going to create a new file that I'm just going to call it css/main.css. So what I'm actually doing is creating a CSS file within the CSS directory. And that's actually going to create a CSS folder and then the main.css file. So after doing that, let me close this. And the next thing I'm also going to do is to create a new file. So I'll call this file I'll call this index.js. So this is actually where I will write our small JavaScript. Now I'm also going to create a simple file right here. So I'm actually not going to create it, but I'll place it. So I'll just create a folder. So this folder is the one that's going to contain our static images. So let's say the website contains some images that you may want to render on the front end that are going to be static. In this case, we may need a folder for images within our static directory. Now the first thing we're going to do is to edit our main.css file. So I'm just going to add in some CSS properties here. So the first thing I'm going to do is to style everything with a padding of 0 and margin of 0, and then let's say we want everything to have a box sizing of border box. So I'll save this. Let's also say that we want our font family. So our font family to be, let's say, sans serif. So actually choose something like Calibri sans serif. So once you have this thing, what you need is actually a way we are going to access these files. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and apply these styles so that it can be globally accessed by other pages of our application. Now, the beauty with template inheritance is we can apply these styles to our base template, and then we can be able to access them across the various parts of our application. So what I'm going to do is to go to our template of our base.html or our base layout template, and then right in here I'm going to create our link. So I'll create a link. So this link is going to be a link of CSS, and then where we have our href, in this case we're going to use a special Django tag that's going to specify what this is actually going to come from, where it's going to come from, and this is actually going to be a static tag. Now within our static tag, we specify where we are actually looking for that file. So in this case, what we need is css/main.css. Actually, what will happen is Django will look for the static directory, and then look for the CSS directory, and then it will look for main.css. So what you can do is to actually come and say that we're going to look for css/main.css. And when you save this, when we go ahead and refresh, our styles may not be applied for now, but let's actually try it. So when we refresh, we now have our template syntax error. So each time we're going to use our static tag, we are being told that we actually did not load this tag. So some tags in Django may need us to actually load them before we actually get to use them. So we are going to load this tag. So what I'll do is to go ahead in our base.html, and then at the top of our HTML code, I'm going to use a special tag called the log tag. So sometimes you may have these tags, and these tags may not actually be loaded, so we may have to first load them first, and we shall look at how to create these tags in the future. So I may come and actually create a static tag. So after creating this and loading it, I can refresh this side, and now we have our tag being loaded. So let's actually look at what is happening. So when you go back to our terminal right here, we see that we are actually having a static CSS main.css not found. So let's say we stopped our server. So I'm going to stop our server with Ctrl and C, and I'll have to restart our server for now. So now that our server has started, I'm going to go back to our template, and when I refresh, right now we see that our styles are actually working. And the beauty is these styles can also be accessed across other parts of our page. So let's go ahead and style this up. So I'm just going to go to our main.css, and within our main.css, I'm going to style up some of the things we have here. For example, I am going to turn our header. I'll give our header a background color. So let's say our background color is actually going to be black. And when you have this, then you shall have our background color being black. So we can also give it some padding. So this padding can be something like 20 pixels, which is actually going to happen. Now we can style all our anchor tags. And all our anchor tags in this case can have text decoration of none. So you can just say text decoration is actually going to be none. And what we can actually target are the header tags within our header. So to do that, I'll actually come within our base.html, and then I'll provide each of these with class selectors. So I'll come right in here, and what I'll do is I'll actually use Ctrl H, so to select multiple. So I'll just come and provide a class. So I'll call this each of these a nav link. And when I have this is a selector I'm going to use to select them. So I'll go to our main.css here, and then I'll select the class with nav link, and then I'll style them. So let's say we give them a color of white. So when I save this, I'm going to come and sorry for this, I'm going to refresh, and when I refresh, we actually have our styles happening here. So we can even style up our H1s. So let's say our H1s are actually going to have a margin of, let's say, 20 pixels. And I save this. Now see that our H1s are having a margin of 20 pixels. And let's say, like in our index.html, we created our H1. So let's actually put this in a div. So I'll put this in a div with saying dot. So this actually with Emmet, it will autocomplete to a div with a class, and then I'll call this post, and then let's say we provide this in a div with a class of post. So when I come, I can go ahead and style this up. So I can say dot post, and then right in here, what I can do is to provide padding within the post container, 20 pixels, and when I have this, then when I refresh, we actually have our posts having some padding in them. And now we can see that we actually can be able to style up these different components of our application. Now let's look at how we can actually add our JavaScript. So right now we have our styles working, but let's say we wanted to add some JavaScript. So let me actually space this up. So what I can actually do is to come to our nav link and then say margin. This will be our margin left. So let's say we're going to have a margin left of 20 pixels. Now refresh, we actually have them spaced out. So we actually have some organization here. I'm not the best at CSS, but at least you get the idea. So what you can do is to actually add some interactivity by adding some JavaScript. So to add JavaScript, all we can do is to add a script tag. So I'm going to go to our our base.html. And within our base.html, we need a script tag. So best practice, we have to put our script tag before the ending closing body tag, because then if our CSS is big, that means our page will load slowly. So we're going to provide the source, and then we shall do the same thing. So in this case, we shall use our static tag, and within our static tag we shall provide js/index.js. So within our index.js, all I'm going to write is alert, and I'll just say this is your JS from Django. So I'm actually going to save this. So if we have our JS, what we're going to have is a simple pop-up, and this is actually going to have this message. So I'll go ahead and refresh our page, and now we see that we're actually having our JavaScript that's going to pop up this, telling us that this is our JS from Django. So I'm going to stop that, and now we have actually looked at how we can style our pages, as well as how we can add our static JavaScript. Now let's say we have an image and we actually want to render that image as well. So what I'm going to do is to select any image from my file system. So I'm going to open up my files, sorry for that. I am going to come to my files, and then I'll head over to pictures, and then within pictures I'll select a simple picture of myself. Now I'm going to drag this in my images right here, and all I can do for now is to render this in our HTML template. So I'm just going to come within our index.html, and let's say I want to render this in a template. So all I can do is to come and say img, and we can do the same thing. So using our static, I can come and say that I'm going to render our images. So I'm just going to call this images slash, and all I can do is to, so I'll rename this to my image. So I'll just call this me, and once I have this, then all I can do is to render this. So I can say render me.jpg. So we can even provide an alt, so in case the photo does not exist. So I'll just come and say photo. When I save and go back to our HTML template, I'll refresh, and now actually what we have here is we did not load the static tag. We've used it, but we haven't loaded it. So I'll go at the top of our code after the extends tag, because it has to be the first within our template, and then I'll say load, and then say static. When I save and refresh, right now we see my photo is being shown. So let's say we have these photos. Now we can even style this photo up. So I can provide a style of image. Actually, I can come and provide the class. So let's actually select it with a class, and this class is actually going to be a class of image. So when you go to our main CSS, all we can do is to style that up. So just going to say .image, and let's say provide a width, and let's say this width is actually going to be 200 pixels. When I save this, when we refresh, we now have my image being displayed on our template. In this video, we've been able to look at how we can style our Django templates. We've also been able to look at how we can add JavaScript as well as images to our templates. Thank you for watching, guys, and all you can do for me is to hit that like button so that you get this video to as many beginners who may want to learn the Django as possible. Thank you for watching, guys, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe, because content like this will always be available. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye.